Now I've got 42 slides and 5 minutes of video and 20 minutes. So I did the maths, and we should be on time as long as I press the button every 22.5 seconds. So I apologise in advance, this will be quite a high-speed Sky Notes. But of course the most important event of the last month or so has been the solar eclipse last Friday. And if you saw it, I'm quite jealous. Nick, are you pressing the buttons?
How quickly do you want to press them?
22.5 seconds, I told you.
Raise your left arm or something. Right.
So I was in Cambridge, next slide, Nick, and we had quite a good turnout of 100 people at our public observing event. Not bad, given it was thick cloud and it felt like it was about to rain. The best view of the sun we got was Solarium on a laptop. And the next slide is my best picture of greatest eclipse. That is the 90% eclipse sun that you see there from Cambridge. But elsewhere in the UK, weather was a bit better. This was Damien Peach in Devon. He drove a couple of hundred miles west from Devon, from Chelsea to Devon. He said a spot of fog there, but not too much cloud. This is an image of Callum Potter's from Cheltenham, taken with a mobile phone.
That's impressive.
That's a mobile phone through an H-alpha telescope from Cheltenham. This is Nick Hewitt's image from Northampton. Quite infuriating. He was about 50 miles west of me and apparently got a clear view, clear-ish view of the sun. But of course the best views were from Svalbard and the Faroe Islands, and Nick was there and I think has some videos to show us.
Yeah, I just will take 3 minutes to show a bit of video that I shot. So I was incredibly lucky to be in Svalbard, and contrary to all expectations, the sky was phenomenally clear. It's about the clearest eclipse I have ever seen, and I had a wide-angle camera running. There's actually some shadow bands you can see on this. So just at the time, just going into totality, there's shadow bands. The temperature at the start of the eclipse was about -17. By mid-totality, it was about -21. If you happen to watch, I've mercifully muted the soundtrack on this, but if you happen to watch this on YouTube, basically all I can say during totality is it's incredible, and I say this about 20 times, but it is the most spectacular eclipse I've ever seen. The atmosphere was incredibly clear, and so you can see the edge of the shadow here, dark blue here, the light outside the shadow. There were some lovely prominences, so nice detached prominence here, bright one up here. Some really nice loops in the corona. This is taken with the long focal length video is taken with an Astro modified Canon 600D, so it's sensitive to hydrogen alpha. So you've got another nice prominence here. You can see the seeing ripple, which is something you don't often see in eclipse videos. This is actually the seeing ripple you get. The lights in, this is Longyearbyen, the main settlement here, had come on. The corona extends down below the mountain peaks here. The moon's moving in this direction, so we're going to get third contact over here, this lovely loop, and you can see there's a nice little prominence, faint prominence in the loop. This prominence here is becoming more visible. Some little prominences here and here. Naked eye, this was just incredible. It was the most amazing sight I think I've ever seen during an eclipse. The images you see of the corona that have been processed that show all of the detail in it are phenomenal, but when you actually see it with your own eyes through a pair of binoculars or naked eye in conditions like we had on Svalbard, where essentially the atmosphere wasn't there, it really was incredible. In fact, at one point in the video I changed from incredible to awesome. Now, you'll notice there's a person here who actually doesn't think it's incredible at all, because they're actually driving along a road with the headlights on their car, probably thinking, what the hell's going on? What a blooming nuisance, I'm having to turn the headlights on my car. So I'd spent a lot of time and effort to get there, and yeah, here we go. So again, beautiful prominences, and this guy's just driving along in his car. God knows where he's going. Maybe he was rushing somebody to hospital, I don't know. So we're seeing now, look, you can see the edge of the shadow, diamond ring at third contact. Well, it really was incredible. Shadow bands again, you can see the shadow bands here on the surface. It was probably the best eclipse I've ever seen. Just incredibly lucky where I was with just incredibly clear sky. Lots of incredibles, lots of incredibles. Okay, so back to Dominic, there you go.
And if you haven't seen that on YouTube, it is certainly worth seeing, because I don't think I've ever heard Nick reduced to quite shocks the speechless state.
I was half dead.
Now the sun has otherwise been quite quiet, not many sunspots, but it has been producing some of these filament features. This is a picture Lynn Smith sent me from the 9th of February. And I think if you calculate the length of this, it's about 1 million kilometres of material end to end, a filament of cool material in front of the sun's disk. This is a Dave Tyler image of the same filament from February, and Ron Johnson told me that he was clouded out for the eclipse, but as his constellation, when it cleared up a couple of hours later, he did some solar observing. This is the sunspot that you will have seen in some of the partial eclipse images taken by Ron Johnson later that afternoon, and this is another filament that Ron saw on the same day. Now, an inactive sun means not much aurora either, but if you're Dennis Brzezinski and you live in Tarbert Ness, then you can still see aurora. This is from the end of February, and this is from Caithness. This is Gordon Mackey earlier in January. Ken Kennedy said probably not much hope for aurora in coming weeks, but noctilucent clouds the season will be starting at the end of May. It's been quite a quiet noctilucent cloud season in the southern hemisphere, but it will be interesting to see what's happening in the northern hemisphere when it starts at the end of May. Now, if you looked west at sunset earlier in the month, you would have seen Mars heading towards solar conjunction and Venus above it, but also Uranus in close conjunction with Venus. And on the 3rd of March, these two planets passed within 1/10 of a degree of each other. And this was a nice picture taken by Pete Lawrence. It's a stack of the sky on 5 consecutive nights at the same sidereal time, so the stars aren't moving, but you can see Mars, Venus and Uranus moving from night to night. I think that's quite a beautiful demonstration of how the further planets are out in the solar system, the slower they move across the sky. And this is a picture I stole off Nick Hewitt's Facebook profile. Mars down here, Venus up here, and if you squint really hard, it's about 7 o'clock on Venus, you can just about see Uranus to the side of it. I blew that image up, and this is Venus, this is Uranus next to it. But that was just PowerPoint playing up the image nice and big. And Nick, this is your image from the same night. Venus a bit overexposed, and Uranus, difference of 10,000 in brightness here. I think in your email you said that was a good demonstration of the dynamic range of modern CCDs. I think you did slightly overexpose Venus there. If you look west in April, then Venus and Mars are still around, Uranus has disappeared. But Venus is still getting better. It doesn't reach greatest elongation until June, and it's still brightening at about Mag -4, the brightest thing in the sky apart from the moon. And Richard McKim has said this is the best apparition of Venus this year. This is the time of year when the ecliptic is quite steep to the horizon at sunset, and that means that these inner planets are very high in the sky. And so if you want to do infrared imaging of Venus to try and see its surface, this is the time to do it. These are some sketches by Paul Abel showing the cloud structures that he could see visually. Now, it's not just Venus that's visible in the sunset sky. Mercury, also in early May. Mercury is at greatest elongation, I think, on the 7th of May, and for about a week around that time you'll see it about 10 to 15 degrees above the western horizon. You'll notice I've had to change the stellarium graphic to ocean rather than the landscape you had before, because it wanted to put a tree in front of Mercury, so it's certainly not easy, but if you've got a clear western horizon you can see it. Later in the night, Jupiter's now about 6 weeks past opposition, and Saturn is coming up to opposition at the end of May. Now, John Rogers said it's really incredible the images that people like Damien Peach are getting of Jupiter these days. And it's not just Damien, it's other amateurs around the world too. So this is Damien's image from the 26th of February. And if you take an image by Chris Goh, taken about 6 hours later, and if I blink these, you can really see those cloud structures moving on Jupiter's surface. So it's incredible number of amateurs who are getting detail in the Great Red Spot, for example, so that John can really see how those features are moving from one night to the next. The other interesting feature of this apparition of Jupiter is the mutual phenomena of the moons, because it's close to Jupiter's equinox. The moon system is seen edge on to our line of sight and to sunlight, and that means you can see eclipses and occultations of those moons. And if you want to see what's coming up, if you go to the BAA website, if you click onto the computing section and you click on the picture of the Handbook 2015, you can pull up a table of when all of these eclipses and occultations are happening. They carry on until July, when Jupiter gets too close to the Sun to be usefully observable. Now, Saturn is at a declination of -10, so you'll be digging around in the murk on your southern horizon to see it this year and for the next 5 years to come. I didn't see many very good images of Saturn from the UK last year, and I suspect we won't see many this year. You'll generally see quite a hazy view because of the seeing. But if you're happy to go abroad, particularly to the southern hemisphere, you can get quite a sharp view, obviously. Now, comets. The comet of the moment a couple of months ago was 2004 Q2 Lovejoy, and it's still very well placed, and it's still quite bright at about magnitude 6.7. This is the finder chart from Sky and Telescope. It's moved up from Orion and Taurus, where it was a couple of months ago. It's now high in the sky in Cassiopeia and circumpolar, visible all night. And looking ahead for coming months, it's staying circumpolar right through the summer. It should stay a binocular object until June, and then it will be a telescopic object through the summer. And it passes, I think, about 2 degrees of the north celestial pole in July. If you're a frequent visitor to the BAA website, you will have seen this story by Richard Miles about 2 comets in outburst. The first of these was 17P Holmes, which you may remember from 2007 was the comet that blew up and outburst by something like 14 magnitudes. This time the outburst is by about 4 magnitudes, from 18th magnitude to 14th magnitude, but this comet certainly is one to surprise. The second outburst was 29P, it's Fashman-Lachman, 29P, and that was also, I think, from 18th magnitude to 14th magnitude that was outbursting, and you can read Richard's write-up of that on the BA website. John Shanklin emailed me a couple of days ago to say there's been a third outburst, I think 2013 C2, which is a fainter object. But what's interesting about that is it's out at about 10 astronomical units from the Sun, so it's out where Saturn lives, and that has just outburst. But it's about 18th magnitude, I think, so quite hard to...
From 18 to 12.
18 to 12. Meteor showers. quite a quiet time for meteor showers to spring, but there is one shower coming up which is favourable, and that's the Lyrids, with probably about 10 meteors per hour. The moon is, I think, about 2 days old at maximum for the Lyrids, so it's quite a favourable meteor shower. But of course there are always sporadics to be seen as well. One way that amateurs are very good at picking those up these days is with meteor cameras that film the night sky and see what comes along. This is Nick James's meteor camera in Chelmsford. As it happens, I've just set up one in Cambridge as well. This is in collaboration with Cambridge Science Centre. This is before we put the lid on the electronics. We've got a Raspberry Pi computer in there processing the image. We used to have all this electronics actually inside the box up here, but the thermal noise from the electronics was basically messing up the images, and we were getting...
Prince Philip would have something to say about your wiring.
Yeah, we did have some wiring issues, and the heat generated from that electronics was basically meaning we were watching TV fuzz rather than the sky. But it has got a lot better since we've had this separate box. So Nick James sent me a trio of meteors that I think you saw on the same night, at the end of February. So these are 3 fireballs that came along on the 22nd of February. I don't think they were shower, were they, Nick?
No,
they were just 3...
and they were all different orbits, so it's just...
So it's a bit like buses. You wait and then 3 come along on the same night. So that, I think, is all I have time for, but if you click onto the BAA website, just about a week ago we put up the Sky Notes on the BAA website, so if you scroll down to the bottom you'll find this box, Sky Notes, and you can read more by Brian Mills on the spring sky at the bottom of the BAA website. Thank you very much.
Can I just make... Sorry, just before Dominic's pause. The BAA again is going to do a DVD of the eclipse. So all of you who saw it, whether it was partial eclipse in the UK or total eclipse elsewhere, I'll be sending out something soon. You can send your stuff in, and Jill and Roger Perry again are going to edit up a DVD.
And I guess you'll be able to buy it from the BAA shop, which is just there.
Credit card.
Indeed. Thank you very much.